depending on that dude, might be like a day after the fourth. You know what I'm saying? I don't never anticipate that day. You know, any kind of holiday, I don't anticipate.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can throw something on the grill if you want. You know, you ain't necessarily gotta be all in the festivity.
I ain't had no real meat in a minute. You know, I've been having taste food for the last month or so.
Right.
Yeah, and I've been too lazy to put it up. My way. Yeah. I'll probably do it tomorrow, put it up tomorrow. Yeah, when I get out from work. There ain't nothing like that real meat in a minute.
Right.
So I have to, you know, man, when I go in there in the stove, man, I have to be careful what I eat out the stove. So, man, I had to do, I said, man, y'all got pork in these, and yeah, they got me baby. It made me mad because it seemed like just all out black pork and meat, you know, in the beans and stuff. You know,
it ain't how people eat side.
yeah.
How people eat it, but eat side, they want to make it.
Yeah, the one that made him put it in there. Right. Yeah, you know. Not that I cut the fried beans that I always add. Then when I forget the eggs, more like it be some in it, then I just waste money because I'm not gonna eat them now, you know. Yeah.
All right. Foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutations. Truth.
That's right.
Out there keeping His word of sincerity and the truth.
That's right.
We out here once again to let the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans know that we are God's chosen people. We are the Israelites according to the Holy Bible.
That's right.
We come out week in and week out to the downfall of this wicked kingdom known as America, which is Babylon the Great according to the Holy Bible, and is ruled and ran by the so-called white man Esau Edom, which is the devil that the Bible speaks of.
That's right.
And we are here to proclaim the word ignorantly called Jesus Christ. He is a dark-skinned man with woolly hair. His true ancient biblical name is Yahweh Shai, and he's coming back to bring salvation unto the elect of the nation of Israel and judgment to the rest of the earth.
Yeah, that's right.
And one of the things that the Lord is about to bring back to the earth in a major way is shame.
Yeah, that's right.
Because what this earth doesn't realize, or what the people over here in America don't realize is, especially our people, is that shame was a thing amongst the nation of Israel. It was a thing amongst our culture where if you did something outside of the rules and regulations that Yahweh Shai set forth, which is the laws, statutes, and commandments, and it was something that brings shame, you was actually going to be shamed, you know, which I'm going to go into the definition of shame, and I'm going to go into the meaning of shame culture. But a thing that our people also realized was you wasn't just representing your individual self. You were representing also your family, your lineage, your social status. All of that was very important amongst our nature, amongst our culture. And even in the other cultures in Eastern culture, they still uphold to that. But it's only over here in America where that is non-existent, where people worry about their reputation. They worry about their reputation more than their actual, their social status. And so the difference between the two, like for instance, on social media, you will have both anybody. It ain't got to be necessarily Jake. You will have people over here in America who do all types of shameless or wicked behavior, or do all types of skits. You know, it ain't even got to be nothing wicked. They'll do all types of skits or whatever, just to get popular, just to be known, which it produces no fruit. It don't bring them no honor. But in the Eastern culture, if they was to do anything, just, you know, you could take like like Japanese culture, for example. They'll do something when they do something, they say they're doing it for the honor of themselves or the honor of their family. They doing things for honor. And that's the difference between the Eastern mindset and the Western mindset. So, can you read that first real quick?
Yeah, and also too, one thing about shame, you know, shame was done in the public, as you were saying back in the ancient days, when someone did something, it was done, and they were put to shame. They were done publicly, like crucifixion. You know, that was a shame. You know, and it was done publicly. Stoning, that was you know, it was priced for your penalty, but it was a shame as well. Not only a shame to you, but it was a shame to your family. You know, and your associates, your family, your friends, everyone, because it was done open, it was done out in the public.
It's good to say that too, because we're gonna get that account too about that. You got it.
Like, this is Micah 7. You know, 7 and 7.
7 and 9, 9 and 10.
All right, this is Micah 7, verse 9. It says, I will bear the indignation of the Lord, because I have sinned against him, until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness.
Right, so it said we are bearing the indignation of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, because one thing that we realize, being in this truth, the reason why we in this predicament is because we went off. You know, we sinned against Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. So now, and we made the covenant with the Lord. You know, we made the agreement saying, Lord, you know, we adhere to your rules, and we agree to the covenant, to the agreement for you to be our God, and you to be here for us and to protect us and deliver us and provide the promises that you gave into our forefathers. And we gonna be obedient unto you, doing everything you command us to do. We made that agreement with the Lord, and we broke it. And the Lord said, look, if you don't do this agreement, if you don't keep your end of the agreement, this is gonna follow and this is gonna happen unto you. So now that we come back into this truth and we awaken into who we are, we understand the predicament we in is the result of our own actions. So like you said, we're going to bear the indignation of the Lord because we sin against them. That's taking accountability. And only it starts with the men of the Lord, you know, taking the accountability of our actions, you know, and the actions, you know, basically of our people. We understand what we done was wrong. Like I said, the vast majority of our people, whether they be over here in America or whether they be scattered around the four corners of the earth, if they're not of the elect, they're not taking accountability. But the elect are, because the people that's gonna have this mindset is of the elect, the hopeful elect. Like I said, afterward he shall plead our cause. So we still bearing the indignation of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, patiently awaiting for the Lord to deliver us out of Babylon the Great, and to hear and to answer our cries, to answer all our prayers of destroying this place and putting us back in our rightful rulership.
Verse 10. Then she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is the Lord thy God? My enemy shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as the mare of the street.
Like I said, then she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall behold her. And of course, it's going into the woman, you know. Because outside of Esau, Edom, the next most powerful people on the face of the earth is the Israelite woman, particularly the southern kingdom, the so-called black woman.
That's right.
And like you said, that shame shall cover her, which is multiple scriptures that go into the shame of these women, which we're going to go into it and go into the culture of shame, you know, and shame culture. So this is the definition of shame. It says, a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. And some of the synonyms is humiliation, loss of face, which we're going to get that loss of face, that's going to come up again. Embarrassment, guilt, remorse, discomfort, or discomposure. Also it says the opposite of shame is pride and indifference, and that's what brings upon shame, having that pride. because these women are extremely, extremely prideful, extremely out of order, you know. So it says also a loss of respect or esteem, dishonor, which that's gonna come up again, that dishonor, because that's what you had went into. Not only just you get public shame, and it's not only just shame to you, but that shame is also attached to your family. Scriptures talk about that. We're gonna get there too. It says, used to reprove someone for something of which they should be ashamed, a regrettable or unfortunate situation or action, pity, misfortune, a crime, and a sin are the synonyms. And when I was, going into the definition of shame, it made me think about that account of that woman. I forgot exactly what city it was, but she was at night working on top of an SUV, and then the person that was on the driving the SUV, they drove off. She fell off and got hit by a fire truck and died. It made me think about that, and that was shameful behavior. That was something worthy of being humiliated for. And she's not here to experience that humiliation, but you just think about it. Everybody that know her, and even people that don't know her, they're talking about her, about what she was doing, because why top of an SUV twerking? And then the Lord brought the judgment where you fell off and got hit by a fire truck.
Yeah, right.
That's shameful behavior. That was a shameful conduct, because now that's your legacy. That's how you're going to be remembered, by doing something very foolish and it costing your life. But that's only just one example of all the many different women that do all types of shameful behavior, especially on social media. Even if they, whatever they post, their content, they post their body, even women out here in today, in the real world, how they dress, how they walk, how they move about with their pride. Just like we saw those two young girls, because I was looking at them, watching them, and they kept looking over here and they'll look away. But they didn't have no shame about how they were moving, how they were dressed. And they looked like they were teenagers. They didn't even look like they was in their 20s. Looked like they was teenagers. They already been conditioned, on how to move about in feminism. And a part of feminism is pride. So you can only, and they had the phones out, how women be walking with their phones, recording themselves.
Right.
They was doing the same thing at a very young age. They have no shame. Because another thing about our culture is women were never supposed to have that type of attention. So all of this would have been condemned in the ancient world. And not only just by family or whatever, the whole community would have humiliated, would have shamed them.
Yeah, people got hit in the back. Got a whoop.
Yeah, I was gonna go back to what you said about the girl twerking on the back of the SUV. Although like you said, she's not here to witness the shame, but the shame came to her family. And her family is, and she's gonna be memorized, like he said, as the girl that twerked and got ran over by a fire truck. And all of that goes into Sirach 25, where it says the shameless woman shall be counted as a dog. We know what a female dog is, See it, And so that's how the Most High look at it.
That's right.
And that's what you counted toward as him, unto him, for the shameless deed, because, like the brother was saying, back in the ancient time, you're supposed to carry the most dignity. When men are talking, not interrupt them, and know your place. But now, when men are talking, women are interrupting and take over if you allow them.
Yeah, they take over. Sure, right.
You pulling some precepts that I'm gonna get to through the Spirit. I'm gonna get some more definitions, and then we're gonna read that again. So it says, I'm gonna go back to this one. It says a regrettable or unfortunate situation or action, and like you said, the synonyms was pity, misfortune. The ones that's grayed out, it says a crying shame, like how we speak, cause for regret, bad luck, bummer, crime, a sin. All of these bring upon shame. All of these are attached to that shame. Like I said, we bear, like the verse above it said, we bear the indignation of because we have sinned against him. And like I said, one of the synonyms for shame or unregrettable or unfortunate situation or action, it says sin. So it says a person, action, or situation that brings a loss of respect or honor. And this is the whole mentality of the so-called black woman. You know, and not just them, the Israelite women in general, but the so-called black woman is the head of, you know, they one of the main ones. That's why even the statistics show that they are one of the most undesirable and undateable women on the face of the earth. They are the most undesired and undateable women on the face of the earth. That's because they have, back to the scripture, the Lord is going to bring that shame and shame culture back in the earth in a major way. So a little definitions, it says of a person, action, or situation make someone feel ashamed, to humiliate, to embarrass, to chasten, and to humble. See, this is what the Lord is going to do. He's going to bring a great humbling to the whole earth. Not even just the women, but especially to the women, because outside of Esau, Edom, they are the most prideful nation, prideful people on the earth, and like that bring upon shame. That's associated with shame. So it says to bring shame, cause someone to feel ashamed or inadequate by doing or surpassing them, outdoing or surpassing them, and then and this is another thing too, because a lot of Israelite women are upset, or they ashamed, or they're upset because the men of Israel, the southern kingdom and northern kingdom, but especially the so-called black men, are getting with the other women. You know, they're not even so mad that you get with the other tribes. They mad that you get with women outside the nation.
Yeah.
But especially, you know, women of the, they mad that you're not trying to chase after them.
Yeah.
And you going to get the other tribes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, with the so-called, well, not so-called, the whole passport bros thing. A lot of Southern Kingdom women hate you, you know, just for doing something like that. Yeah. And then they start talking about you like, oh, you going to get these women that ain't never had this, that, and the third. You know, they come with all their insults. Yeah. But like it said in the definition, to cause someone to feel ashamed or inadequate by outdoing or surpassing them. These women of these other nations and other tribes, but especially the other nations that never had the Western mindset or haven't been affected by the mindset like Eve has, they outdoing and surpassing them. And like the brothers have always said, a lot of the wives that the men of the Lord are gonna get, you know, during that time, they're gonna be coming from the other nations. We're gonna have to rebuild and bring back our nation. There's gonna be a lot of women put to death. There's not gonna be a lot of women saved. You know, it's a very small percentage of women over here that's gonna be saved. So you can read that again. Sure.
All right, this is Micah 7, verse 9. It says, I will bear in the indignation of the Lord, because I have sinned against him, until he my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness.
Right, see, and even that's a shame, because we had to bear the shame, all these other nations humiliating us, you know, all these other nations coming against us, making fun of us, mocking us, you know, just as a whole, as the Israelites as a whole. But then even more so us being in the truth, we were mocked and humiliated by our own nation. You know, we are mocked by the very people that we out here preaching the word, the gospel unto, the good news unto. And like I said, we bearing the indignation of the Lord, because while we doing so, we still have to go through and maneuver through the situations that, that are alive, that came with us being in this walk. So if you whatever situation that you in your life, you have to still bear that indignation until the Lord pleads your cause, until the Lord pleads all our cause. So we bearing the shame of Yahweh, of our actions, because it's what Yahweh wants us to do, but that humbled us. Now we not moving like the rest of our people are in this world. We're not moving like the people in this world in general. The Lord has humbled us, and our mind has been humbled. And now we coming under that correct order. That's why he's going to plead our cause. Well, it's one of the reasons why. Ultimately, it's because of his great mercy, and the promise that he made with our forefathers. But still, we are, humbling ourselves under the order of Yahweh Shai. But the next verse is going to tell you who's not doing it and what's going to happen unto them.
Verse 10, then she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which says unto me, where is the Lord thy God? My eyes shall behold, now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the street.
Right, so like it said, but then she that is my enemy shall see it, because what men have started to realize is they not on your team. You know, especially the Israelite woman, especially the woman of the southern kingdom. You know, the so-called black woman, they are not on your side. They not on your team. They really are like the enemies of your own household. The vast majority of women are not on your side. So like I said, shame shall cover her that said unto me, where is the Lord thy God? And that's not meaning that she physically said it. You know, it don't have to always be her rejecting Yahweh Shai by words. It can be through their actions. It can even be by their mindset and the way they think. But this is the same. It's talking about these women and how they moving on the earth, contrary to Yahweh Shai. It said, my eyes shall behold, and now she be trodden down as the mire of the street. Which I'm gonna get the definition of that word mire. And this is the definition of the word mire. It says a stretch of swampy or boggy ground. For some of the synonyms, it says mud, slime, sludge, dirt, filth, ooze, and muck, which all that's gonna come up later too, especially the filth, the definition of filth. So keep that in mind. But the second definition, it says a situation or state of difficulty, distress, or embarrassment from which it is hard to extricate oneself. Meaning the Lord is going to put these women in predicaments that they're not going to be able to deliver themselves from or get delivered from, and only the women that's of the elect are going to be saved from it. But like I said, our eyes are going to see what Yahweh Shai type of judgment that he's going to bring upon them and the shame that comes with it. Because these women are extremely, extremely prideful, and they get it from Esau Edom. It ain't like it just came about on their own. They get it from Esau Edom, but going back into our culture, shame culture was a part of it was a part of our culture. Baba Kashai, can you hold Deuteronomy 22? I'm gonna read a couple more definitions. It's caused to become stuck in mud, which that's something that we use, stuck in mud. That's a word, a phrase that we use. You in a difficult situation that you right, or get it out the mud. You gotta get it out of the difficult situation on your own. We started 13 on Deuteronomy 22 as well. It says, involve someone or something in a difficult situation. So basically, like the scripture saying, the Lord is going to put these women in very shameful situation. He's going to bring that shame upon them. So now I'm going to go into the shame culture and get some scriptures on shame culture. And can you hold Numbers? Numbers chapter 12. You can start. So we're gonna read that whole chapter. I think it's maybe like 15 to 16 verses. All right, so this is shame culture. It says cultural shame refers to a social system where communities' expectations and reactions heavily influence individual behavior, often driven by the fear of being shamed or ostracized for deviating from social norms. So keep that in mind, because the social norm for us Israelites is keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shai. So anybody that deviates from that, you are finna be ostracized by your own people and by your own community. You know how Jake get down. We know how us Israelites, we like to talk. The word is gonna spread around. Even before social media, news got around to people quite often and quite quickly, because that's how Jake is. We gonna share news. It says it's a culture where preserving honor and avoiding shame are paramount, and where individuals may modify their actions to maintain their standing within the group. This is what we bring it back to the earth. because honor is going to be all throughout the whole nation of Israel in the kingdom of heaven. And it's going to start with the 144,000 and the rest of the elect, and it's going to trickle on down to the rest of the Israelites that be reborn into the earth. It's going to be a nation of honor, and we're not going to be ashamed of anything, because we're not going to do anything to bring about shame. It says, this differs from the guilt-based cultures where moral failings are felt internally, where shame-based cultures focus on external perceptions and social judgments. And we see that all throughout the scriptures. And like I said, we're going to get some examples on it. So here it says, here's a more detailed breakdown. And it says, external morality. In shame cultures, morality is often externalized. Actions are judged based on how they appear to others and how they impact one's social standing. Social pressure. Shame cultures rely heavily on social pressure to maintain order and conformity. Individuals are motivated to avoid actions that could lead to public disapproval or ridicule. And the next one says, preserving honor. A key aspect of shame cultures is the emphasis on honor. Maintaining honor and avoiding shame are central to individuals' identity and social standing. So, Baba Kashad, can you start in Deuteronomy 22, starting at 13? And you can read in the AMP if you want. So we finna go into an example of like the going into the standing and the social standing of one's, you know, not only just their individual but of their family, and how shameful behavior was greatly frowned upon, and depending on the type of behavior that was showcased, your judgment would determine, basically your judgment would determine whatever actions you did, because this is something that we don't see in America, and this is why the majority of our people, not only just women but the men too, are completely out of order. So we gonna go into it.
Deuteronomy 22 and 13. A man takes a wife and goes in to her, and then scorns and hates her, and charges her without cause with shameful behavior, and publicly defames her and says, "I took this woman, but when I approached her, I did not find in her evidence of virginity."
Right, so like I said, if a man marries a wife, and sex is marriage, so there should be no confusion on why sex is marriage, which this scripture is this whole account is gonna break it down anyway. The sex is marriage, so it said when this man take a wife and he finds out, or he says that she wasn't a virgin, and accuses her of shameful conduct, and shameful conduct is being a promiscuous, being a hoe. You know, that's what it's going into. Or adultery, because she could have been promised into that man. So it's either adultery or just being a harlot.
Then the young woman's father and her mother should get and bring out the evidence of her virginity to the elders of the city at the gate where court is held.
Right, the evidence of her virginity. That's what it be having like the being a footnote. Sometimes a footnote give you it'll go directly into it. I know it go into the virginity. They're gonna go into the bed. Because you keep that too. But like I said, the father and the mother, that's how you know their marriage is completely out of order. Because with modern day marriage, once the husband and the bride, well, how they post quote unquote wanted it to go, women's supposed to be a virgin, and once she get married, they go off on a honeymoon, and then they can get down and get busy. But in the ancient world, how marriage went, when a man promised his daughter to another man, they'll have a marriage ceremony, but then the parents will set up for them to consecrate the marriage, which consummate the marriage, which is the act of sex, and you can read about that in the book of Tobit. That's Tobias was married until I forgot her name now, think it was Sarah, but I can't remember her name. But that's how he got his wife. Her parents set up the whole room for them to basically become husband and wife. So that's why I said the man, the father, and the mother should take the evidence of her virginity. Now it's gonna go into what the evidence of the virginity is.
One of like if they like already like promised to like engaged or something like that.
So what?
One of they engaged, you know, she have not been took.
Betrothal.
Yeah. Huh?
Betrothal.
Yeah.
That's like that's promise.
Yeah. That's like right.
Yeah.
That's the whole
Oh, go ahead.
town know that she was betrothed because the two men would meet publicly, and the father of the bride would pay, or the father of the groom would pay the father of the bride for her. So, you know, it's just a matter of time before the father of the groom would tell the you know, go
Father
get
of the
your
bride.
wife, go get your wife. You know, so you know, I think you're ready to go get your wife.
It's still
So
like she was still promised. So even though she ain't been touched, she was promised unto him. So that's basically still his wife.
It's still his
And
wife.
they just haven't consummated.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's still considered adultery.
It's still considered adultery.
We're gonna read on that because all that what you just asked is in there.
Oh, okay.
So the father of the young woman should say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man as a wife, but he hates her and has turned against her. And behold, he has made charges against her, saying, I did not find in your daughter the evidence of her virginity, but this is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. And they should spread the garment before the elders of the city.
You got the footnote right there.
Oh, I probably got the book.
you scroll at the bottom, it'll be down at the bottom.
It says IE for the
Sometimes that be hard. Like he said, it's at the bottom too. Ain't never just click on it. But he decided a specific verse.
this is the footnote for Carmen. It said, i.e. a blood-stained bedsheet or item of clothing from the wedding night.
Right, so a blood-stained bed sheet. This is how you know that a woman was a virgin, because her hymen is supposed to break. She's supposed to bleed whenever she has sex with her husband or the first man she has sex with. That's or like they say, you know, in the world, pop the cherry. That's what it's all going into. And the parents are supposed to have the evidence to let them know, or for as a backup for this specific situation. So if a man get with a woman and say she's not a virgin, if they have this this evidence, he can't come back and accuse her of being an adulterer or being a harlot, which is considered shameful. It's very shameful. And the reason why this is so important, because the being considered a harlot or an adulterer, especially in your father's house, that will get a woman put to death and a man put to death as well. It'll get people put to death. This was very important. So shameful behavior, shameful conduct, shame culture was highly regarded in our culture. It's gonna go further into it.
This is Deuteronomy 22:18. Then the heir should take the man and reprimand him. They should fine him 100 shekels of silver and give it to the father of the young woman, because he have publicly defamed a virgin of Israel.
Right, publicly defamed a virgin of Israel. See, that shame works both ways, because like I said, he publicly accused shameful conduct on another man's daughter on his house. That the train go by. That would affect that would affect his social status. That can, if he got a business, that can affect his business. You know, so like I said, our people, it got around the community. It can affect his business, his social status. That man can have other daughters. She could have been an older daughter. He can have other daughters, and it would have made his job, because it was his job to marry his daughters off. It could have made marrying the younger daughters off more difficult. Or it could have, or his son, it could have, if he got children, sons, and they was unmarried, it could have made them getting other women more difficult. It was a lot that went into your social status. And our people, in our culture, we greatly, we cared greatly about, how we, our social status amongst the community. Like, we wouldn't just know. That's why, our people, we always ask who your people are, even to this day. Well, maybe 20, 30 years ago, they'll always ask about who your people are, what people you come from, so they can know if the people are good people or they people not trustworthy. Because, if you was talking, if a woman, if a, girl, she had somebody she was interested in, she brought a guy over, and her father, he would ask they'll inquire about who he come from to know if his people were good people or not. So just like we did it 20, 30 years ago, that was a normal thing amongst our community in the ancient world.
Also, too, to point out how close a relation you are too, if you're related to that person as well, so that you don't end up with a formed child or something. Because, right. That would bring on shame too, because that's all in the laws and the commandments. But we're not supposed to be doing anything like that.
TikTok, Facebook, JK, on TikTok, or maybe on Facebook with JK. They got the mama pregnant and the daughter pregnant. Oh, yeah. It's a mess, man.
And that's the shame. That's in the scripture.
Yeah.
That a man should sleep with the mom and the daughter because it was I can say it's shame.
Wicked.
Yeah, wicked.
Abomination.
Yeah. But it was two Edomites that he had slept with the mama in it.
What?
I mean, he just smiled and laughed. He got the mama pregnant and the daughter.
There's no shame.
Yeah.
No shame in these points. That's why they're gonna be judged for it if the Lord haven't already done it.
Right.
But being over here in America, you have a lot of people they'll defend it. Now, of course, you have a lot of people that's gonna talk about it, but you have some people that still are defend it, just because they defend the the alphabet community. So why wouldn't people defend that? Yeah. So you gonna have people over here defend that type of behavior, and as long as that mindset exists, even it don't matter if it's one person that defends it. The earth needs to be reset. This place needs to go, because shame culture is not. And then you have people that say, well, that's them. I ain't worried about it. But in the world, in the kingdom of heaven, it ain't gonna be no nonchalantness to wickedness. Like, we ain't gonna be nonchalant if the other nations go off and do, you're gonna be judging the earth in righteousness, and shame culture gonna be amongst the other nations as well. So if they doing some type of shameful behavior, or a certain family group doing shameful behavior, that shame is gonna be attached to them.
Can I ask you something, bro? How all the people like the 2/3 doing shameful things, abomination things, they gonna be exposed when we get in the kingdom of heaven?
Exposed, you talking about for what they were doing?
Yeah, to show them what they were doing.
I mean,
law, knowing that who the Most High was and Yahweh Shah was.
Well, I mean, in the kingdom, they getting exposed now. Like, they getting exposed for everything they doing now.
Right,
but in the kingdom of heaven, when they be reborn, they gonna be in their right mind. They gonna know, everything that happened. They gonna know about the history, and they gonna be ashamed of that. But they ain't gonna be like getting exposed in the kingdom of heaven for what they were doing, because the Lord said He gonna forget they forget all our past sins, he ain't gonna remember it anymore. So he ain't gonna be like, well, you used to do this in the ancient world, so you can't. He ain't gonna be like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, precept. Yeah, come.
Then the elders of their city shall take the man and reprimand him. They shall find him 100 shekels of silver and give it to the father of the young woman, because he hath publicly defamed the virgin of Israel. She shall remain his wife. He is not allowed to divorce her as long as he lives. But if this charge is true, that the evidence of the virginity was not found in the young woman, then shall they bring out to the doorway of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death, because she has committed a deliberate sin in Israel by playing a prostitute in her father's house.
Right. So going back to what the brother had said, not only does it bring the shame on that woman, but it's gonna bring the shame on that father, on that household too. Cause like I said, they gonna stone her in front of the household of her father. So everybody's gonna see it, you know. Everybody gonna hear about it. You heard what happened to such and such daughter. You know, she got married. They married her, and it came out that she wasn't even a virgin, because virginity was something extremely precious in the ancient world. And now women don't care about it. And, probably about every woman that you meet, probably every woman that you've already met. But especially nowadays, most women that you meet now, they're not virgins, you know, or that you try to get with, try to talk to, they are not virgins, because virginity is not upheld over here in America. And this is basically more so to them, it's more shameful if you are a virgin. Like women, and especially a lot of men, if you're a virgin, they'll ridicule you, or they'll shame you because you haven't had sex yet.
Wetback.
Yeah, some of the women, they glad to say they ain't no virgin, so they can say they have more knowledge. They know how to operate right.
Right, or experience.
Yeah, experience, yeah.
Old folks say you wet behind the ears, boy.
Yeah, I heard it.
That's extreme. That's an extremely wicked mindset. And like we're going into, like we're saying, the Lord is going to bring shame back to the earth in a major way, because we, you know, it's still other scriptures that speak on how women are going to be ashamed for not even having men. And a part of, because like I said, this was very important, you know, for a woman to be a virgin, and the more information that come out, or, you know, at least be made known, the more we see why the Lord he got women set up for one man per you know, one woman. I'm sorry, 1 man per woman. That's it, right? Yeah, 1 man per woman. A woman's supposed to only have one husband, because I don't know if y'all heard the video, but like, you know, like the DNA of every man that a woman sleep with, you know, it always stays in her. Yeah. But it came out that the DNA can also pop up in their children. So like, y'all knew that? I didn't know that. But
I saw that video too.
Yeah, like, so if a woman, if she done already had multiple partners, especially over 5, and she done been with these men, and then she get with you and you have a child with her, your child can come out looking like one of the other men that she done been with, and it can have some of the personality traits of the other men that she been with, because their DNA sticks with that woman, you know. So that's why that's another reason why the Lord said a woman only supposed to have. There's nothing wicked about that. But again, a lot of these women, they are extremely prideful, and they have no shame about their behavior. But in the ancient world, the Lord said if this woman, she played the whore or she committed adultery, you take her out of here, you know, and getting stoned, that's not a pleasant way to go, you know, because you gotta sit there and get hit by all those stones and rocks or whatever they do until you die. You feel everything. And like I said, that was to instill fear also into the rest of the nation. And then not only just into the rest of the nation, it's still fear into the men as well, to not do something like that, not to, you know, cause that to happen to a daughter of Israel. Because we are princes, we are the sons and daughters of Yahweh Shai, so we have standards we supposed to uphold to.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm sure you keep going.
So you should remove. If a man is intimate with a woman who is another man's wife, they should both be put to death.
Adultery, that's shameful behavior. The Lord said, kill him. It's not considered murder. He said, kill him. Now, of course, that don't happen over here at Babylon the Great. And before we came into the truth, a lot of us, or the mass majority of us, even that's standing here, we done been with women that have already been with another man, and then when they break up, you will probably get with or whatever the case may be. But according to the Lord, marriage is sex. These women, the women that we have gotten, they were a lot of men, women that they weren't virgins when you got them.
Yeah, I remember with a couple married women back in the day.
Women that already had sex with another man.
Yeah, had sex with another man, and then they lawfully married also,
Right. So we done all done things contrary to the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shema Shai.
Yeah.
But now we awaken into this truth, and now we understand. Like we started with in Micah 7:9, we are bearing the indignation of the Lord because we sinned against Him, and this was all our mindset. At one point, we'd rather follow after the ways of the other nations instead of following after our ways. Now we understand why our ways are so important. We understand the benefits of shame culture because it eliminates a lot of the behavior that we see in modern day society, especially among women, but men too. Because like I said, a man and a woman that's committing adultery, both of them get put to death. What was so wrong with that? Because if his wife is cheating on her, or she's sleeping, if she's committing adultery with another man, the type of feeling that comes behind that with that man. Like the scriptures say, jealousy is the rage of a man. So if a man, and he ain't gonna he ain't gonna take no type of bribery or nothing for the man that's committing adultery with his wife. And that's how we made the Lord feel.
Yeah, like my first wife, she committed adultery. Slept with another man, then she had a rape. I asked with all about it, man. I said, I hope she went up on the truck, should have killed her. That's how I felt at that time. But I would mess around with women, but it's not different when a woman go out there and say you're gonna have another thought, like spirit on these women.
Yeah, and these women, when they, because the Lord designed us to be able to handle multiple women, deal with multiple women. There's nothing wicked about that.
Right,
but women weren't designed to deal with multiple men. And like I said, that jealousy and that feeling you get when you deal with, when your woman deal with another man, it's the same feeling the Lord got when the nation of Israel was delving into these other gods. So the Lord, He gave us a taste of our own medicine and let us know how it feels. And for a time, he allowed all this to go on. But like I said, he not being silent no more. That's why a lot of women are getting put to death. And like the example we gave, the woman twerking on top of the SUV. And another example was women. It was some sisters. It was a older sister. I think she was like 30, and she had her younger sister. She was maybe like 17. Oh no, she was 18. And they went to Florida to go get a BBL, and they stayed in some janky recovery place. And long story short, the older sister, she went to sleep after taking some drugs that the place gave, and she never woke up, so she died.
She was the older sister.
Yeah, the older sister. The older sister died trying to go get a BBL, and the younger sister, when she did the interview on it, she was in a walker. She 18 in a walker. She can't even walk. I don't know what it is now. I'm pretty sure she's still in it, but she can't even walk right, going to get a BBL, and now the mother and the remaining daughter is mourning for the older sister. But that's shameful behavior.
Yeah.
And that's the result of the shameful behavior. Like scripture say, verse Micah 7:10, now my eyes shall behold, now she that is my enemy, shame shall behold her. And my eyes shall behold her, she shall be trodden down as the mind, and put in a situation that they ain't be able to get out of.
It's all the same thing. All black women, man, they hate us, man. We go up in the store. They always, you know, they give you a messed up ass face. You know, they always grouchy. Soon either come in there, how you doing? They smile and they laugh. Soon you come to the to the cash register, I don't think you get frowned from them. Upset face.
You good?
They can't even give you a good, hey, how you doing?
Right. Or they judging you.
Yeah, they judge. Yeah.
You know, oh, he look broke. You know, or he got money. Or,
Yeah.
you know, how they can deceive you.
Yeah.
In some form of fashion.
Yeah. You know, every now and then I might get a sister that might smile and ask you how you doing today and stuff. But most 90% of our sisters out there, they looking mad at you like, I go with you. I ain't wake up with you this morning. You got a problem with me soon I come in the door. I don't understand it, man. I heard, what's his name, the rapper Clyde say the same thing the other day. He said the same thing the other day. I thought I was basically the only one experiencing it.
This is Deuteronomy 22 and 22. If a man is intimate with a woman who is another man's wife, they should both be death. The man who lay with the woman and the woman, so you should remove evil from Israel. If a young woman who is a virgin is engaged, legally betrothed to a man, and another man finds her in the city and is intimate with her, then you should bring them both out to the gate of that city, stone them to death.
That's public. And you bring them out to the gate.
Yeah.
And stone them, publicly kill them. Just going into your question, because like I said, she already promised to another man, and she knows that. And women didn't have no say so on who they married, because the man, it was the father's child to marry the daughter off, and those type of decisions, those are huge decisions. That also goes into a family status, because we see now when women have their choice to choose who they be with, 9 times out of 10 they don't stay with them. You know, and that's why all these women had all these men outside of them having liberty to be with all these men, or feminism giving them all this liberty. Women don't know how to choose men. We see that. We already know that.
They don't.
They don't know how to choose a man. They don't know how to choose a husband. That's why it was always given to the father. And even the scriptures say it. I believe it's in the book of Sirach, where it says, "Your daughters, and therefore you shall complete a weighty matter." You know, roughly paraphrasing. So, like I said, a woman, she already supposed to be married to another man, and she go off and have sex with that man. The reason why they both could be put to death, because she didn't call out. She didn't basically scream out for help.
Also going back to 22 and 22, when a man and a woman put to death for committing adultery, it goes back to what you said earlier about a woman that sleeps with multiple men, that DNA is in them. So that even if that man, the husband of that wife, kept her, that child could come out looking like that other man. So that would be an abomination or you know, a sinful thing. So the Most High said, put them both to death.
But yeah, and he violated his property, you know, because women are a possession. You know, children, they're a possession. If a man is superior unto the woman, then she's under his authority. She paid for it. Well, yeah, he paid for it, but also too, anything that's in your possession, like if it's something that you own, you gonna protect it. If somebody coming up against your car and they all rubbing up on it and touching it, you gonna go and protect your car. Or if somebody that you don't know or unfamiliar with is looking at like your animal or something, you gonna go protect it, especially your children. I ain't have to go in there. If somebody come up against your child, you gonna go protect it. So those are things that's in your possession. But like you said, you know, too, you also, that's your wife. So you got it.
Then you should bring them both out of the gate. Then you should both bring them out of the gate of that city and stone them to death. the young woman, because she did not cry for help, though she was in the city, and the man because he has violated his neighbor's promised wife. So you should remove the evil from among you. Right? You've done all this to set an example. Put that fear in amongst the people. So, that's what this was done.
Going back into that same culture.
Verse 25. However, the man finds the girl who is engaged legally betrothed in the open field and seizes her and is intimate with her by force, then only the man who lies with her shall be put to death. But you should do nothing to the young woman, for this is the same as when a man attacks his person.
Right, see, all these, even though you getting put to death, all this is still associated with shame. And not only is it going to affect you, but it's going to affect your family. You know, once you pretty much finish it out, and then I'm going to go back to the definition, and then we'll get the numbers. Good.
You should do. It said when he found her in the gate in the open field, the engaged girl may have cried out for help, but there was no one to hear and save her. If a man finds a girl who is a virgin, who is not engaged, and seizes her and is intimate with her, and they are discovered, then the man who was intimate with her should give 50 shekels of silver to the girl's father, and she shall become his wife, because he has violated her. He can never divorce her.
Right, see, it said he has violated her, he can never divorce her. 50 shekels of gold wasn't cheap.
Silver.
I mean, silver. 50 shekels of silver wasn't cheap either. I don't know the equivalent of what it would be today's time, which, we probably look it up. But that wasn't nothing, you can look it up.
Yeah.
That wasn't nothing cheap. And like I said, he should not put her away because he has violated. That was even a shame, because marriage was honorable. But just to go and take a woman, just because, which you didn't get put to death for doing that. If you just went and got with a woman, and you had sex with her, by force, you didn't get put to death with it. But that still came with that was like dishonorable. That was a dishonorable marriage, because you didn't go the proper way of going to her father, and at least asking for her hand in marriage, and paying the father the right way, doing it the right way. You went off and done it in a dishonorable way. And that father, he can refuse to give his daughter unto you, and you still gotta pay him if he so choose to. Because that father, he probably already had in his mind, I think I want to marry her off to this guy, or I think I want her to be with this family. But now you done went off and had sex with her, and now she done became your wife, and now he can't take her and marry her to someone else. So now she's stuck with you, and the father is probably pissed off about that. But it ain't nothing he can do. He just got to take the payment, or he can refuse to give her unto you. But like I said, you violated. That wasn't honorable. And again, that brought upon shame. I think that was it on that. Did you find anything on
Verse 30, a man should not take his father's former wife, so that he would not expose his father's wife.
Right.
I see some comments where people talking about it, but it's like 150 to 200K.
Yeah, it is.
You said how much?
150 to 210,000.
Right.
100,000.
150 to 200,000.
Right. It wasn't cheap, and a lot of people don't even see that type of money in their lifetime. Some people do, but you don't ever see it all together. You work for it, the government take it. You got to pay your bills. You work, the government take it, you got to pay your bills. You don't ever see that in one lump sum. That man had to pay that.
This will say, what chapter is it? 66. That means it says 50 to 50. Yeah, you got it.
Like 150 to 200 some thousand.
Just keep good, see. Let's see. Well, that's what I'm talking about.
You go to that number now. So, going into it, like that's just one example of how shame and shame culture was a part of the. It was in our culture, and here go another example of just shameful behavior and the consequences behind it. Man, it's gonna go more so into that definition of shame, and then I'm gonna go back into the definition of shame culture, and we'll get Isaiah 4:1, and then we'll just go from there.
All right, this is Numbers 12 and 1. I'm gonna read this in the AMP. It says, now Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Cushite woman who he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman.
Right, so Miriam is Moses' sister, and Aaron is Moses' brother. And it said that they spoke out against him married, so they both had something to say against this. Now, remember, this law, statutes, and commandments, that ain't nothing new. So even though it say in the New Testament, a woman should not absorb authority over a man, that still applied even in the ancient world.
And they said, has the Lord really spoken only through Moses? Has he not spoken also through us? And the Lord heard it.
Right. So both of them had this mindset of the Lord, Moses acted like the Lord only dealing with him, like he ain't dealing with we all Israelites. This is the mindset that they had, and it said the Lord, he heard that, especially for Miriam being a woman, because this account goes to show women that you are not on the same level as me. Miriam didn't have the same responsibilities as Moses or Aaron, but she had the mindset to speak up and say, Moses ain't the only one the Lord dealing with. So now the Lord finna check him, and then he finna punish him, and that punishment is gonna bring upon shame.
Which is the mindset of a lot of the Eve today, when you try to tell them stuff scripturally and biblically, and they're like, well, the Lord ain't only dealing with you, he tell me things too.
Yeah.
You know, so they don't want to listen, you know, so that's that mindset. Now man, Moses was very humble, gentle, kind, devout, of self-righteous, more than any man who was on the face of the earth. Suddenly the Lord said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, come out, you three, to the tent of meeting, tabernacle, and the three of them came out. The Lord came down in a pillar of a cloud and stood at the doorway of the tabernacle.
And that was a chariot. The Lord came down in a chariot.
And he called Aaron and Miriam, and they came forth. And he said, hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known to him in a vision, and I will speak to him in a dream. But it is not so my servant Moses. He is entrusted and faithful in all my house. With him I speak mouth to mouth, directly, clearly, and openly, and not in riddles. And he behold the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Miriam and Aaron, and he departed. But when the cloud had withdrawn from over the tent, behold, Miriam was leprous, as white as snow. And Aaron turned and looked at Miriam, and behold, she was leprous.
Right, so the Lord basically checked Aaron and Miriam on what how they felt behind Moses being the leader. And then after the Lord checked them, he took Miriam's pigmentation away. She basically, what they call them, albino. a lack of pigmentation, even though she was an Israelite. She looked like an Edomite. That's how she was looking. And the Lord took her whole pigmentation. Now she the only one amongst the whole nation of Israel that looked like an Edomite. So just like you know how they show the picture of a white Jesus, and they'll show him amongst a whole bunch of black people, and they they'll be showing that they don't even look right. Well, that's how it was for her. She was the only Israelite that looked like a straight Edomite. It was for punishment, and the whole nation knew. And it's gonna go into why and how to know. It's gonna go into how the whole nation knew. But she was basically humiliated behind it.
Talking about I was thinking about what the scripture would say. It said, then Aaron said to Moses, "Oh my Lord, I plead with you, do not account this sin to us, in which we have acted foolishly, and in which we have sinned."
Right, and notice that nothing happened unto Aaron. It only happened unto Miriam because she was completely out of order. Now, both of them was out of order for speaking against Moses, but again, you women, you are not on the level of a man, and the Lord made this. He made that perfectly clear. A woman being completely out of order, you're gonna get a far worse judgment, because there is no way you shouldn't even absorb authority over any man. But you're gonna do it out of all men. You're gonna do it against Moses, and he was the leader of Israel at the time. Lord, like I said, we're dealing with Moses face to face. Everybody else, I give them dreams and visions for them to know what I want them to do. But I ain't deal with Moses like that. And you gonna speak against him?
Who was it? Moses' sister.
Uh-huh.
Oh, do not let her be like one dead, already half decomposed. That's what I was laughing at. Right? As you were walking by, I was thinking about that. Half dead, already decomposed.
Right. He gave her a horrible skin condition.
Yeah. It says, oh, don't let her be like one dead, already half decomposed, when he comes from his mother's womb. So Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, heal her, please, oh Yahweh Hashem Yahweh, plead with you.
Right, so the Lord, Moses, he had sympathy for us. It's his sisters. He had love for his family. So Aaron went to Moses and was pleading to him, like, look, ask the Lord on your behalf, on our behalf, to have mercy on us, because we went off, But this is the Lord's response to that.
But the Lord said to Moses, if her father had but spit in her face, would she not bear her shame for 7 days?
Right.
Shame for 7 days. Let her be shut up outside the camp for 7 days, and afterwards she may return.
Right. See, and when he went into the father spitting in the face of a daughter, that was like one of the ultimate forms of shame in the ancient world. To have your face spit in, especially publicly, that was like a shame, showing disrespect and shame for shameful behavior. So the Lord was basically saying, shouldn't she be basically shamed for 7 days? Even so, she gonna be outside the camp. She not gonna be amongst my people at all for 7 days. Ain't nobody gonna see her for 7 days. And then afterwards, I'll heal her and bring her back, and then y'all can move on.
So Miriam was shut up outside the camp for 7 days, and the people did not move on until Miriam was brought in again and declared ceremonially from her leprosy.
Right. So see, the Lord outcasted her, and then the whole nation of Israel was wondering why they weren't moving for 7 days. And when the news got around, they were like, oh, Aaron's sister, she spoke up against Aaron, and so Moses, well, Aaron's sister took up, but Moses, like you said, Moses and Aaron's sister, they spoke up against Moses, or she spoke up against Moses, and the Lord took her pigmentation away. And anybody, we all know the feeling of being humiliated, or being, like if you get in trouble for something, and you got to be separated from everybody else, you start to think about how everybody else is what they think about you, especially when you have time to think and you isolated away from everybody. But that humiliation intensifies when you get back around them and everybody looking at you. You really wondering what people thinking about you, because you have been humiliated. So just imagine Miriam having her skin pigmentation taken away, and she had to be outcasted outside of the nation of Israel for 7 days. And everybody talking about her for what she done, and then when she get brought back, you know everybody gonna remember, everybody murmuring again, you know, about what she done, and that put fear on everybody else too. But the whole point of that whole story, what I'm bringing out, is a part of the shame, that she had to bear, of speaking out against Yahweh's servant, and ultimately against the Lord. That's why he had to come down and check her. So one of y'all hold Isaiah 4:1, and I'm gonna read. And what you can do, you can get the Bible comparison, because we're gonna read a couple of the translations. So I'm gonna go back to that same culture and finish reading them out. So this going back to preserving honor. It says a key aspect of shame cultures is the emphasis on honor. Maintaining honor and avoiding shame are central to an individual's identity and social standing. So we got two examples of how that actually applies to our culture, you know, and how it looked in the ancient world. So it says shame cultures are often associated with collectivist societies where the group's well-being and reputation are prioritized over individual desires or good or goals. And that's completely different from the West. And this is an example as to how it says some examples of shame-based cultures include those in parts of Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, where social harmony and maintaining faith are highly valued. And these are all the places where we were once at, because we not from this side of the earth. We was once on the eastern side of the culture, like it said, the Middle East. We was once in Egypt, which is in the continent of Africa, and we was once in those Asian countries too. And now we scattered across the four corners of the earth. But the eastern side of the world has that shame culture still a part of their culture, whereas the West, people don't have no sense of shame. But the Lord is going to bring shame back to the earth in a major way. I'm going to read one more thing, and then we can get that scripture. This is what is shame culture in Japan. And the only reason I got it for Japanese is because you always hear or see a movie or a show about some type of Japanese warrior saying he's trying to restore the honor for his family, for his family, his father. Even like in the show Avatar, when you watch the Netflix or the cartoon, the character Zuko, all he was talking about restoring his honor because his father had took his honor away from him. He burned his face. Zuko had spoke up against his father or one of his generals, and when they was trying to invade the other nations and conquer the other nations, and he spoke up against it. And so his father had dueled him, and he didn't fight his father. Basically, his father burned half of his face and banished him. And the same men that Zuko was speaking up for, he had to travel the world to go find the Avatar for them, or find the Avatar and kill him. So the whole time, Zuko was trying to reclaim his honor for his father and for his nation, for himself. But ultimately, he realized that it wasn't for him to do that. He was supposed to join the Avatar, and he wound up helping the Avatar defeat and overthrow his father, and that's how he reclaimed his honor. So it says Japanese culture is often described as shame culture, where social harmony and maintaining faith are paramount. The emphasis on external perceptions and avoiding actions that could bring shame or embarrassment influences various aspects of Japanese life, including social interactions, work, and personal behavior. Cultural sources that the concept of faith, which is similar to but distinct from Western notions of reputations, play a central role in this dynamic. So basically saying your social status and how you are presented amongst society is more important than your individual reputation. And that's why I gave the example of people over here in America. They'll do all type of foolish behavior on social media for clout and just to get a name for themselves, no matter if it's shameless or not, versus the Eastern mindset where people will do things that'll bring about honor to themselves and to their family. And I'm gonna read one more thing and then we can get the scripture. So it says, this is shame as a motivator. Shame rather than guilt is often used as a primary mechanism for social control and discipline. Children are often taught to be mindful of how their actions might reflect on their family and community and to avoid behaviors that can cause shame. But all these other nations, they got it from us. All this type of this mindset, shame culture, they got it from the Israelites. You know, because when they talk about Japanese life, they make it seem like they the originators of it, but really it comes from the scriptures. And that whole and that mentality is coming back to the earth, and it's gonna come back in the way that it's supposed to be done. That's why another reason why America is gonna be completely destroyed and engulfed with fire, because this place is not shameless. This place is shameless, and that's why the Lord also said when Esau Edom, his glory shall be changed into shame, roughly paraphrasing.
All right, this is Isaiah 4:1. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. And that's the King James Version.
Right, only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Now, a part of their reproach is being unmarried, because women outside of their purpose realize that they get in this, this career, they'll become a career woman and get all this type of accolades for getting these type of jobs and someone making this amount of money, but they don't have no family of their own. They don't have no husband, they don't have no children, or if they have children, they don't have a family dynamic, and something is always missing. That's why all these women on social media, especially single mothers, are making these TikToks about how men don't want them, or how they don't feel accomplished because they outside of their purpose. And it was always a shame, even in the ancient world, for a woman not to have a husband, because a part of her duty was to bear children and to serve her man. You know, that was a part of the reason why she was created. So women that's not doing that, you always gonna, whether you experience it when you're young or you old, that mentality of not fulfilling your purpose is always gonna come about. That's why women 30 years old or more or older, like I said, when they don't have a husband, they not married, it really affects them. That's why they're making all these videos saying they lonely. It's a lonely epidemic going on, and it's hitting women the most. You know, it's hitting them harder because they outside their purpose. So that's a part of one of the reasons why they are, like I said, one of their approaches. Can you see?
All right, in the NLT it says, in that day so few men will be left that 7 women will fight for each man, saying, let us all marry you. We will provide our own food and clothing. Only let us take your name so we won't be mocked as our man.
All right, you can get the AMP on that.
AMP, in that day 7 women will take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread, our own food, and wear and provide our own clothes. Only let us be called by your name. Take away our shame. Unmarried.
Right, take away the shame of being unmarried. It's a lot of different. But in those times, especially Jacob's trouble, it's a shame for a woman now to be unmarried, to not have a man, because you can be let's say if you got a woman, y'all go into the grocery store together, and she in her order, you in your order, you being a man, masculine, and she being in her order, feminine. Other women that's in there that don't have a man, they gonna be looking at you. They gonna be looking at the both of y'all. They gonna feel some type of way because she has you, and the woman that's looking at y'all, she don't have nobody. And that's why a lot of women be making these TikToks, because one of the main things they say is they see people with couples, they see these couples, this, that, and the third, or like that woman that went to that dating event. She said she seen an Israelite man. He didn't go to none of the so-called black women. He went to all Edomite women, and they was all, she said she went to the bar to go eat, and she looked to Edomite. She looked to her right, Jacob's with an Edomite. But when she looked around, she seen nothing but the so-called black women by themselves, and they was all looking around too. They all had this understanding that the men don't want them, and it made her feel some type of way.
That's bad.
Right, it made them feel bad. So
Bad.
even in these grocery stores, like if you with your woman, and as long as she in order, she following you, following your lead. These other women, they look at them and they feel some type of way. They ain't gotta ever say nothing. You ain't even gotta notice. But if you do notice, you just pay attention. Just kind of look around, look at the women that don't have not with a man. And they see you, if they, if they pay attention to you, they're gonna be staring. They're gonna look at you and they gonna consider.
Yep.
Can you get the NET version? And then the BBE.
All right, NT is the 7 women will grab hold of one man that at that time. They would say, we will provide our own food, we will provide our own clothes, but let us belong to you. Take away our shame.
Right, let us belong to you, take away our shame. Their shame of not having a man, not being in order. Not being under the order of a man, because that's a woman's purpose. Like Yahweh Shah said in Matthew chapter 5, salt that has lost its savor, what good is it for? So I always say a man, an Israelite that's outside of his order, what is, that's outside of his purpose, he's good for nothing. But that same principle applies to a woman. A woman that's not under the order of a man, that's not a wife and trying to bear children for that man to forward his legacy, when you outside of your purpose. That was the main reason why you were created. And if you ain't doing that, then you good for nothing. Nobody can do nothing with you. And during the time of Jacob's trouble, where it's gonna be very vital for a woman's survival to have a man of the Lord, like it's saying in Isaiah 32 and Isaiah 13 and 12, it's vital for those women to have a man of the Lord in order to survive. They gonna want that shame of not being in a stable situation taken away. That's another reason why they gonna be chasing all the men of the Lord. And then the BBE.
All right, the BBE. In that day, 7 women will put their hands on one man, saying, there will be no need for you to give us food or clothes. Only let us go under your name, so that our shame may be taken away.
Right, and let us go under your name, that our shame may be taken away. So like I said, it ain't gonna be no need to take care of them. We ain't gotta worry about taking them to H&M, taking them to get their hair did, this, that, and the third. A lot of you women now take care of themselves. It might not be lavish. They might, every, the economy is, but there's a lot of single women living on their own by themselves, taking care of themselves. During that time, they ain't gonna be worried. You ain't gonna have to worry about doing this for them. They gonna provide for themselves. They gonna want that stability and that stability and that protection that you have, that the men of the Lord has to offer. And they gonna want that shame of not being under the order of a man. Because again, it is a shame for women not to be married. And they will tell you they've been saying it on social media all along. But I'm gonna say the one last thing. I got this one coworker. She's not attractive. She's not attractive. She's like late 30s, early 40s. Kind of heavy set, short, not attractive. But the point she had said maybe like 3 weeks ago, I don't know, she was talking to my other coworker, I was just listening, but I heard her say that she probably not gonna get married. She don't have no kids, and she said she probably not gonna get married. And I was thinking to myself, like, you're not gonna get married, don't nobody want you, because I already know her attitude not right. She's not attractive, she's not trying to make herself be attractive, and she's past her prime. She's way past her prime to try, trying to start a family with a man on this side. Ain't nobody gonna want you. So she didn't say it in a prideful way. She said it in kind of like a resentful way, or like a shameful way.
Right.
Like she didn't say it proudly at all. And the look on her face, it was kind of like a disappointed way. That's kind of how she said it, like disappointed. Like she probably ain't gonna get married, but it's really it's too late for her.
Yeah, oh shit.
She probably either late 30s, early 40s, somewhere in that area. Yeah, she threw shit. She not even trying.
Yeah, but she big, small.
Yeah, she kind of big, about this height.
Oh
yeah. She's not really attractive. Like I said, she ain't even trying to make herself attractive.
Eating up everything.
Yeah, so the
He ain't
point.
trying to make herself attractive.
But
I just had this dude like that. He cared. I think cared something.
say what?
That's something he had that picture. That dude right.
But yeah, so the point being, the shame is it's like I said, it's gonna take away their shame. Read verse 2. You can go back to the KJV and read verse 2, or whichever verse where it say take away that filth, because one of the synonyms for shame was filth. It might be verse 4. I can't remember which one. You got it? You can read down to verse 4.
Okay, you can do that. I may have to switch because it's about. May have to switch in there because it's about 18% on
You about to close
this. Verse 2 says, "In that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful, glorious, and fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel.
the elect."
And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion and he that remaineth in Jerusalem shall be called holy, even every one that is written among the living in Jerusalem. When the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment, by the spirit of burning.
Right, so like it said, when the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, like I said, that shame and that mindset, that feminism, that westernization, when the Lord finally destroys that mentality and all that behavior, that shameful behavior that came with that they have been showcasing all this time since they've been over here in Babylon the Great. When the Lord finally washed that completely away, like it said, with the spirit of burning, what is it? The spirit of burning, the spirit of who?
Judgment.
Right, the spirit.
Spirit of judgment and the spirit of burning.
Like the spirit of judgment, the spirit of burning. So a lot of these women go see the result of when I say a lot of these women, I mean the women that's left. That's gonna be of the elect. They gonna see the result of what the Lord is gonna do to all these other women that don't believe, that don't trust, that still had that shameful mindset, that's doing all this shameful conduct and behavior. They gonna see the result of it. And like I said, the spirit of burning, judgment and burning, it's going into those thermonuclear missiles, and it's going into all the judgments that come with Jacob's trouble. See, that shame, the shameless mindset, it's gonna come with shameless judgments. You know, you do shameless acts, you're gonna get a shameless judgment. Like got hit by that fire truck, like the one. Yeah, you died trying to get a BBL, trying to make your butt look bigger, and now you can't do nothing. Now you in the spirit world, and now you an example for other women. You don't want to be an example. You don't want to be a shameless example for other women on how not to live on the earth.
Verse 5, it says, "And the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion and upon her assemblies a cloud and a smoke by day and a shining of a flaming fire by night, for upon all the glory shall be a fence. And there shall be a tabernacle for the shadow in the daytime from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a cover from the storms and from rain."
Right. See, and this is the type of protection the Lord is gonna give to His Israelite men. He gonna protect the Israelite men of the elect, and those women are gonna be under their protection because they are associated with that man, which is going back into the Isaiah 4:1 and Isaiah 32. That was the end of it. Y'all brothers got anything? So shame culture is gonna come back to the earth. Or shame and shame culture is coming back to the earth in a major way. So first and foremost, we're gonna give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakah, double honor to the apostles and elders and demons that do will. Peace, love, and salutation to all the brothers out there pushing this word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children out there keeping this word of sincerity and the truth. Hope this lesson was edifying. Until next time, we say Kwam Yasha Allah.
Kwam Yasha Allah.
Abba, Abba,
Abba, Abba.
Shalom.
Shalom.